We're going to talk about a feeling that I think every single one of us knows. It's a type of exhaustion that's way more than just being sleepy. It's a story about hitting an absolute wall told through the eyes of an ancient prophet who got to his breaking point and just said, "I'm tired."
Let's just get right to it. Have you ever been so tired that you didn't just want to go to sleep? You kind of wanted to just disappear? That feeling where you wish you could just fade into the background for a little while?
And look, we're not talking about the kind of tired you feel after a long day or a tough workout. No, this is something totally different. It goes so much deeper.
Yeah, it's that bone-deep exhaustion that just hits you everywhere. You're mentally fried, you're emotionally hollow, you look down at your own energy gauge, and the needle is just sitting on empty. You're just done.
And if you've ever felt that way, it can feel incredibly lonely, right? But what's so wild is that this is not some new modern problem. There's this ancient story that shows us that even the strongest, most capable people can hit this exact same wall.
Okay, so let's get into it. We're gonna look at the story of a prophet named Elijah. And this guy was a big deal. A spiritual giant. But his story has this moment of just profound crisis, a complete and total burnout.
To really get the scale of this crash, you have to see the height he fell from. Right before he hit rock bottom, Elijah had just come off this huge, incredible spiritual victory. He was at the absolute top of his game. And then, almost in the next breath, the floor just drops out from under him. The whiplash is intense. After this incredible high, he gets a threat that sends him literally running for his life. All that amazing stuff he'd just done, it felt like it was all turning to dust. So what does he do? He runs. He just flees out into the wilderness, all by himself, totally spent physically and emotionally. He is just completely drained. And it's here at its absolute lowest point that he says something that is honestly, it's shocking. He prays to God, but not for strength, not for help. He says, "I've had enough. I want to die." That is the cry of a man who has absolutely nothing left.
Now, it is so easy to look at that and see weakness, right? Or a failure of faith. But that's not what's happening here. This is like a textbook definition of burnout. That state of being completely and utterly depleted.
And this is where the story takes a turn you might not expect. So you have this desperate cry from one of his greatest prophets. How is God going to respond? Well, the answer is kinda surprising, and it holds a really powerful lesson for all of us. So, seriously, just pause for a second. What would you expect the response to be? Some big, thundering speech? A command to have more faith? Maybe a lecture about his responsibilities?
But nope, that's not what happens at all. Instead of a lecture, he gets food. Instead of being told to be stronger, he gets water. Instead of a sermon about faith, he gets sleep. The response isn't some deep theological debate. It's just profoundly practical and, well, kind.
And that right there, that's the whole point. Before there's any talk about purpose or mission or the next big thing, the first order of business is to just acknowledge the reality. The message is simple. You're tired, it's time to recover.
This shows us a sequence that we get wrong all the time. We try to push through to rebuild while we're still running on fumes. But this story shows the right order. Recovery has to come before you can even think about rebuilding. So let's just break down that path to recovery he took. It starts with the absolute basics, right? Food, water. Then it moves on to deep, actual rest. And it's only after that physical foundation is back in place that you can even start to hope for clarity to return.
And this is so important. Elijah's sense of purpose, his new direction, that still small voice he's famous for hearing, none of it came while he was burnt out. It only came after he had rested and recovered. Rest wasn't a detour from his purpose, it was the only path back to it.
Okay, so what does this ancient story have to do with us today in our crazy, non-stop lives? Well, I think it starts with something that sounds simple, but is actually pretty radical. Giving ourselves permission to just be tired.
We have to completely reframe how we look at burnout. It is not a sign that you failed or that you're weak. It's a signal. It's your body and your mind sending up a flare saying, hey, you've been carrying way too much for way too long. And I know, in a culture that glorifies the hustle, this can feel totally backward. But sometimes, the most proactive, the most spiritual, the most powerful thing you can possibly do is to just stop and rest.
So let's just land the plane on this idea. This isn't a story about weakness. It's a story about being human. It reminds us that even the strongest among us have moments where we are just tired, and that is perfectly okay.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. The next time you're feeling completely overwhelmed, just staring down some impossible problem, what if the first step isn't to grind harder? What if the most productive thing you could possibly do is to just stop, eat something, drink some water, and get a good night's sleep? What could change if you started treating rest not as the reward for your work, but as the fuel for it?